Hello, my name is David Webb, and this is a video for Dweebovision. I am a Scrabble grandmaster, and in this video I am going to play Scrabble while providing in-game commentary on my moves. Hopefully this will help to improve your game, and be fun to watch. The game has just started, so let's join the action. My opponent's gone first, with allow. I have a poor rack a long way from a bingo, but I do have a scoring tile in the J. So what can I score with that? I've got join on my rack, which would sort out the duplicate I and O. I'm not sure I can do anything about the U. So I could play join in row G, making Joe and Ow. 26 points. I think that's better than changing. It does take an S and a T on the end. But I think this is still better than changing. That's not too bad. It could have been a lot worse, given that I kept IOU. Quite a good pickup. I've got a scoring tile in the C. And I've got a T for making joint if that stays open. So I could play Otic in column 15. While my opponent closes off that opportunity. I'm looking at the L in case I have a bingo, but I don't think I do. I'm close to Lucitic. So how to sort this rack out? My C can go above ow to make cow, but I can't see a way of making a good play in that spot. Now I could still place my T after join. I could make Theic, keeping IOU, not a great rack leave. And Callow is good, so I could play in column 7. So how can I play off the C, the U, and at least one of the I's? Well, Cutie. Or Qit. I note that Joe takes an E after it, and a T. I think I'll go with Cutie. Ordinarily I would try and hold on to the E, but when I'm only retaining vowels, I think it's worth playing it. 19 points. Pretty good. Through an A I would have ab origen. That doesn't play through the A of callow. So is there a 7 with this rack? It looks pretty good. Now I have a few floaters to consider. Unfortunately the R and E of fire duplicate tiles on my rack, but I'm wondering about re-boring. I don't feel great about that. So is there a bingo I feel more confident about? Ignobler. I've got Ignobler in column 9 for a lot less than reboring. But I don't want to play a phony. Through an N I would have enrobing. Can't see anything through the H in column 15. Well, I'm going to go for Ignobler. If reboring is good, this will be significantly inferior. I am, however, opening the board up, so I'm providing opportunities for future bingos. Great, I have stirrers. I think that has an anagram. My opponent challenges, he loses 5 points, or she. Now, I have satirist, I think. No, I don't. I do have... Well, I'm getting muddled by all these duplicate tiles. These are very high probability letters. So, is there anywhere for stirrers? There isn't. Do I have anything through the E of fire? Yes, I have tarsiers. That doesn't get doubled, but my priority was to find one bingo. Now I can look for a better one. Does tarsiers have an anagram? I think... Oh gosh. I'm thinking about artsier. That doesn't take an S, I don't think. So at the moment, just tarsiers. I don't think there's an anagram of tarsiers which begins or ends in an E, and any other anagram isn't going to be significantly superior to tarsiers. Now, is there anything beginning with the H in column 15? I don't think so. Is there anything through the I of ignobler? Don't think so. I think I'm going to get this down and move on to the next rack. So, tarsiers, 59 points. 3 T's, not good. Through an I, though, I would have stotting, and there is an I in row C. Just been blocked. What a shame. Now, I'm looking in row M to see if that I in fire is available, and it's not. Oh, what a shame. That would have been a great way to sort out a troublesome rack. I've got no scoring tiles. So I'm wondering, well, I'm looking at tiles on the board. So I've got the G or T for going after Joe. And a T can also go after OW. But I can't see a play in row I which works. So what about column 12, parallel to law? So I could play Tog. Pretty uninspiring. 16 points. Can I do better than that? And it was keeping 2 T's, which is also a problem. Well, what about the joint hook? I can play Thong. And although that's keeping 2 T's, it is getting rid of the G. I think the G with the 2 T's represents 2 negatives, so it's good to get rid of one of them. Let me see what this scores. Keeping 3 constant is nothing like as bad as keeping 4. 21 points, well, it's a lot better than the 14 I was considering in column 12. This still doesn't feel like a great move. But it wasn't a great rack. That's much better. Through an I might have Talkiest. That doesn't play in row M, so I don't need to concern myself with that. 44 points for my opponent, who is now 17 points behind, so Quite a close game. I've got the K. So I'm wondering if I can play in column 13. I think LAK is not good, it's LAKH. LAT is good. And AX is good with an E. So do I have a play beginning TE? Or, well, I could play late LATE. It would be nice to play off the K as well. Nearly 30 points for late. Where can my K play to good effect? Well, nowhere. And the other thing I need to think about is, am I sure there isn't a bingo with this rack? Through an F, I would have Talk Fest. There's the first few letters in Tarsier. Tarsiers to consider. Can't see anything there. Well, what about cat rather than late? Well, everything's wrong with that, because, or rather, it's missing out on the axe. So that's 28 points. Cat, which would have LEST as a Rackley, which is much better, 24 points. Well, having discounted cat, I'm now including it. I think it's a better play. I can't extend it. So I'll go with this. I have Telugus. Can't see anywhere to play that. Do I have a bingo? So I'm looking at the floaters in Tarsiers. Can't see anything there. What about the Eye of Fire? Can't see anything there, and having kept a really bingo-y Rackleave last go, I now have no scoring tiles, whereas I would have had the K. I'd like to get rid of the G and the U. I was just looking at, in row I, underneath Callow, I could play Gel, which keeps ETUS. So that's not getting rid of the G and the U. But it's getting rid of the G. And the Rackleave is balanced. 22 points, and I do have a lead. So the board being quite non-bingo-y is in my favour, and if my opponent opens the board up, then I may be able to pounce with a bingo of my own. Good, I draw a Z, which is a scoring tile. I'm going to struggle to play off the U with it. Only 10 points for my opponent, that's good. I can play Z in column 4 or column 2 at the bottom. So I could play Z, M and E. 32 points, that's quite good. And that's keeping the same Rackleave of ETUS, which is not bad. But sometimes you can score a lot with a Z, so I don't want to overlook a better play. Well, I can't see a better play. Z takes nothing in front, so this isn't hugely dangerous. £32 points. And again, I have a scoring tile, this time the F. So I should be able to keep the scoring going. I am 61 points ahead, but there are 2 blanks out there, and column 4 is a pretty good bingo lane. So it might be worth my while taking that out. M takes an E and a U after it. Well, too late. My opponent has pounced with a bingo and now has a 10-point lead. And neither blank was used. So how to sort this rack out? Columns 3 and 5 are still very bingo-y. And if I can get rid of the F and the U, then my rack is quite bingo-y. So I could play FUD down here, keeping a good rack leave. The F, not a particularly useful floater. And I am taking out the G for ing ending words, but I don't have an I or an N, so that's not a terrible mistake. 24 points, not great. Wow, I've only got 6 minutes left. I'm not sure where the time has gone. Can't see anything better than that. Still 20 tiles left. Great, I draw one of the blanks. And surely I have a bingo here. Vino takes an S. I've only got 5 minutes left. So let me run through the alphabet and see what I can see. Acetus. Great, that plays, and I'm inclined to play it because I'm so short on time. And the C is quite a blocky tile, so I doubt that there's anything massively better than this. Acetus 72. I don't draw the remaining blank. There's now 7 tiles in the bag. I've got good scoring tiles in the M, V and Y, and I've got a balanced rack. I've also got a 65-point lead. My opponent takes out the useful I floater. Only 3 tiles in the bag now, not particularly bingo-y. I've got 5 minutes left. I pretty much need to just keep on scoring. Only 3 vowels left. 4 tiles in the bag, so I could do with playing off 3 tiles. So a play of Ivy would do that. I'm thinking about playing it in row N because rows M and N are bingo lanes, beginning with the I and R. And Cutie takes an S. Not high probability bingo lanes, but there are no bingo lanes up here. Now, am I risking my opponent catching me without bingoing? 15 points. I am 31 points ahead. This is going to put me 46 points ahead. 46 points ahead. My opponent could get 30 odd across here, but then I'd still be 15 or 16 ahead. I think this is going to be good enough. And I'm keeping the M for going in front of Z, so a short play across here should get me 20 or 30 points. I'm just wondering if I've got a 3-letter play in column 1. Double E taking an M or a V in front, but if I do, I am leaving open these bingo lanes, so I am taking out the risk of a bingo by playing Ivy. I draw the blank. quite a good rack. I can see now pretty much what my opponent's got. It's 7 of these 8 tiles at the bottom of your screen. I could play HMM in column 1 using the blank as an M. For about 35 points. My opponent plays Ice at the top right for 28. I've now got an 18-point lead. My opponent's rack is rubbish. He or she is not going out in 1 with that. Now if I play a hem across here, I'll score well, 36 points, and have a choice of outs next go. So I could play Moat in row K and Z for 18 points. Well, I will just have a multitude of possibilities. I've got row in row M and rear. £16 points for my opponent. I think I'll go with Moat. The game is won. 18 points, in fact. Just wait for my opponent to formally end the game, which they do. Well, kind words. Now, the final score, 378 to my opponent, 446 to me, a winning margin of 68 points. Let's see what I missed. So, it was my opponent to go fast, and they played Allow. This was my rack. I played Join. It didn't feel great, but it did feel better than changing. My opponent's rack, a play of R, and this was pretty uninspiring. Wow, Kuthi, I didn't consider that for 27. That gets rid of all the problems on my rack. I played Cutie for 19, which is not as good as Kuthi, but not a million miles behind. My opponent's rack, Fire, and right, was Reboring good? Yes, it was. So that was an 84-point play. I took 18 fewer points for Ignobler, which is the right thing to do if you're uncertain of a bingo, but it doesn't excuse the fact that it was an inferior play. My opponent's rack, Oi, and this is where I saw Tarsiers and didn't see anything else. Let's see what there was. Nothing. Great. Well, I'm glad I didn't spend time looking for an alternative. My opponent has Narwhals. Not sure if that plays anywhere. Let's have a look. It does not. A play of Law took out my Stotting or Tottings. No bingo here. I played Thong for 21, and I could have played Not for the same score with a rack leave of GST. Probably not much between those rack leaves. Usually duplicates are a problem, but duplicate T isn't a terrible problem because 2 T's do feature in a lot of bingos, so T has synergy with both S and T. My opponent's rack, and this was mine. Keita's A8. Ah, well, that's coming down here, the central column, 43 points, that's pretty good. And I could also have played Tack in that spot. So the same 3 tiles that I played in column 13 for 24 points, I could have got 3 more points by playing them in column 8. Well, Cat has strategic advantage in that I'm denying my opponent a use of that column which could take advantage of the axe hook, so I'm quite happy with my play there. And this is my opponent's rack, Minders Reminds. Let's see what was available. Well, no bingos. I would have found that quite a frustrating rack to deal with. My opponent plays Kid, and here I have Telegoose and nowhere to play it. Tegu A8. Ah, that would have been good. Down here in column 8. What did I do instead? I played Gel, keeping the U. Yeah, so Gel for 22, keeping ESTU. I could have got 3 more points and jettisoned the U, so Tegu would have been better. My opponent played Met, and then this was my rack. I played Z at L2, and I think that looks fine. My opponent's rack, Norite, good spot. And this was my rack. What did I do here? I played FUD at A8, which I like because AEST is a great rack leave. My opponent's rack, not much going there. And here I'm sure I have a choice of bingos, but you see the benefit of keeping 4 highly bingo-y tiles. I kept AEST, and I do have bingo choices. So that really shows why rack leave is so critical. Now, I played Acetus fairly quickly, and there was a higher scoring player. I could have got 4 more points with Sutans at C3. Okay, overlapping Norite a bit more. But I was short on time, so I'm happy with Acetus. My opponent's rack, not a great time to be stuck with a Q when you need a bingo to catch up. Play of Cade for 34 brought my opponent to within 30, but I was on turn. And this is where I made a strategic move with 4 tiles in the bag. I played Ivy in row N for a low score in order to take out the only possible bingo lanes on this board, which was the only way my opponent could catch me. And there was a blank still out there, so even though the remaining tiles look unbingo-y, it is possible that my opponent did have a bingo. So I am happy strategically with playing Ivy, but what I could have done is play Amity across here, which scores well. That would have emptied the bag, so although it scores well, 35 points, taking me to 400, if my opponent had a bingo, then they would win. So I prefer Ivy. This is my opponent's rack. They played Ice, and I drew the blank. I can see what my opponent's got. And I played Ahem for 36, and I think that's fine. My opponent played Rub, and finally, I played Moat for 18, and that was the highest scoring out. Well, quite a fast game. My opponent used less than 4.5 minutes of time, and I was down to just 2 minutes, so a bit of a speed fest, but pretty exciting game. And a bunch of bingos there. I managed to play 3, and my opponent got 1 as well. So a good game, and quite a lot of interesting racks to consider. So I hope you enjoyed watching that and got something out of it. My name is David Webb, and this has been a video for Dweebovision.